Subone Katie here. Wanted to talk a little bit about audio, especially when you're looking at a 2 PC streaming setup. So, one of the things that I've run into as a streamer, as someone who does content, recording my gameplay, wanting to get my face out there, doing videos like this, is I love having the audio sound good. I love having what I have to say, having the game, all of it come through, be mixed well, sound good. And to me, that's as important as any other aspect in the video, right? Especially if you're a streamer. If you get on and you can't understand what the streamer is talking about, what whoever's on there, you can't hear the words, you can't really, it's not clear, it's too high pitched, right? Whatever the case may be, the clipping is bad, then the odds that you're going to stick around and tough it out just to watch gameplay tends to be a little bit lower. So audio is so important, and one of the problems that you have when you have a 2 PC setup is how much of the audio is actually going to be going to be degraded, or is just challenging to set up. And I specifically have a difficult situation because not only do I have a 2 PC setup, I also have an Xbox that I want to stream from, because not every game is out on PC. A lot of games that I have, are Xbox exclusive, or I own them on Xbox, so that's where I play them. And I also have some content coming up with my daughter, when we're going to split screen on Xbox. So I want to have the ability to kind of have my cake and eat it too. And so I've tried a variety of different setups, and ended up settling on the RODECaster Pro II. So for me, this ended up being the best piece of hardware that I could find that does everything that I wanted. So a little bit about my history with streaming is actually during the pandemic, I got my start working for a church, and I was in charge of building their streaming setup. So I had access to thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of audio equipment. I had a 7-foot soundboard that cost like $8,000, right? Like, so for me, audio was very simple. Like, I just, got the MixCreate in it, and all the inputs and outputs went through there. It all went to the PC, all went back into the house, and everything sounded great. But setting in and trying to set up my own stuff, everything has sounded lackluster at best, right? And a lot of that has been equipment related. So one of the easy solutions that you kind of get is the easiest solution with 2 PCs is just to send, an RCA cable, or not an RCA, a 3.5 millimeter, microphone cable from your line out to the headphones on your other PC, and vice versa. And then, and I did that for a while, and I could use virtual soundboards to kind of balance it, and it worked well enough, but it doesn't sound great, and it's definitely more difficult to adjust settings on the fly, right? So sometimes the game is too loud. Sometimes I'm talking closer to my mic than normal, and I need to tone that down. Sometimes the people I'm talking to in Discord are louder than they normally are. So having the ability to adjust that on the fly, especially when you're playing or streaming and trying to focus on chat, is more difficult. So I wanted to get away from the virtual inputs, right? So I don't want to have to tab out of my game to adjust the volume. I don't want to have to slide over to my other PC and hunt down the program that's too loud or too quiet, or I left muted, or whatever the case may be, and have to adjust that manually. So I'm trying to solve for that. So the first thing I tried was actually the Beacon MixCreate. And I think if you're on a 1 PC setup, it's actually a great option. It basically combines a virtual soundboard with a device with physical knobs and options, and it can actually handle audio very well. Unfortunately, with a 2 PC setup, it's a little clunky, and it was definitely not reliable, right? So Windows does a thing where it tries to remember all the audio inputs that it has, and I would have issues where it would not load properly depending on how I booted my system up, right? The order that I booted things up in mattered. And that was frustrating. So I actually sent that back after about a month of using it. Great product, no problems with the product. It just wasn't the fit for me. And then I settled on, I looked at the Elgato option, the Elgato Stream Deck Plus, which is very comparable, but it includes, it combines a Stream Deck with, what is essentially the MixCreate from Beacon, and has a product that can do both. Also a good option, primarily for a single PC setup, though, right? It's a software-based thing, and it's going to struggle in the same way that that the MixCreate struggled on a 2 PC setup. So that left me looking at actual mixers, right? And so what I settled on was actually the RODECaster Pro II from Rode. All right, this is my board. It's set up and it's running, so the picture's not perfect. I took it on my phone, so sorry. And what I wanted to do is kind of talk a little bit about what you get with it, what it does, why it's the best option for me, and I think for a lot of people, especially on 2 PC setups, or on people that have other inputs that they want to deal with. So in my case, specifically, the things that I want to do is I want to have all of my audio that is not game related. I want it on my Stream PC. I want my Discord on Stream PC. I want any soundboard effects on Stream PC. I want OBS on Stream PC. I want my mic there. I want my camera there. I want all of that on the streaming PC because I want every ounce of power on my gaming PC going to my game. I don't want to give up frames running OBS. I don't want to give up frames because I'm running some software, some kind of audio software in the background. I don't want to do it. All right. I want the only thing on my streaming PC or on my gaming PC is my game. So this system accomplishes this in a number of ways. So one, it has a dual USB input. What that means is I can plug a USB-C into my streaming PC, and I can plug a second USB-C into my gaming PC. And that will take the audio from both PCs and bring them into the mixing board. And then with the physical sliders, which is superb, it's what I prefer. It's what you should want as a streamer, so you can quickly adjust your volumes. I can adjust the mic volume. I can adjust the volume of apps coming off of my streaming PC. I can adjust my game volume. Okay. And I can do a number of things. I also have Spotify on its own dedicated channel on the mixing board so that I can actually turn so that's the yellow slider. You see it all the way turned down. I can turn it down. I can turn it up, right? So I can turn it up between games, and then I can turn it down when we drop in. And then that allows me to have full control over it, and I don't need to have controls on my either on my Stream Deck, which doesn't integrate well with Spotify, or I don't have to run it off my PC, right? My gaming PC, or hunt down buttons, on my streaming PC, which, there's some separation on my desk. So this allows me to kind of have a total control over it. Plus, I have a separate input, which is that you can see the green button there. That's actually my Xbox audio. So audio coming in from the Xbox goes into that one. So what does this let me do? So I can, in OBS, run one channel. I pre-mix everything on the board. The colored buttons on the side, actually, it's a soundboard, so I can have little effects, the little chime for when people donate or whatever. I can add that all in. So I can do it all on the RODECaster. I don't need to go anywhere else. I don't need to look at anything else. I just look at the RODECaster. I have it right next to, right here where I play. And then I have that control over it. So when you look at the RODECaster, I want to look at the wiring that goes into it. So this is something that a lot of people don't get into, but it can be complicated to do a 2 PC setup, right? Because you have your mic wants to, you want this, the same mic to be used in multiple places, which normally is difficult to do. I know a lot of people end up with multiple mics, right? So in this case, I have, on the left, I have a couple of mic outputs, right? It'll do XLR, or it'll do combination half inch or quarter inch. And so I have a mic output going to my gaming PC. I have a mic going, from my Xbox feeding into that. I also have outputs going from to the Xbox. I have an output going elsewhere, so I can send it to you. But on the right, you'll see that I actually have 2 separate USB inputs, and that makes sure that the main audio that I have is super clean and actually is going to look or is going to sound great with no interference back and forth. And that's something that is more difficult to do with a traditional audio, right? So like if you have a 3.5 inch or 3.5 millimeter audio cable, the biggest problem that you run into with those things is you get interference, right? You have plugs and you have electricity running through wires. All of that interferes with signal. And there are devices that you can buy, ground loop isolators, to kind of limit that, but it's still going to show up. Sometimes you get a hum, you get feedback. We all, us old heads, we all remember when a phone call was coming in, the speakers would just go crazy, right? And you would know, oh, my phone's about to ring, and sure enough, your cell phone goes off. Okay. And that's all electromagnetic interference. So USB, because it's a digital signal, it doesn't carry any interference like that, right? So unlike audio cables, which do carry that interference and need work and need to be kind of run properly to avoid that, this doesn't deal with that, which is fantastic. Then, so the setup and the ability to bring everything into one mixing board is great. Another really strong reason to look for the Rode or some of these other professional level mixing boards is that there's no external software to run it. Everything is inside the Rode, right? So it retains all the settings. It does all the mixing on the board itself and then sends the signal where it needs to go, which is extremely helpful in not having software loaded elsewhere, okay? The reason you want that is there's no extra software, Windows all the time. If you've ever dealt with Windows 11 in particular, it tries to be very smart about its audio inputs and outputs, right? You plug something in, you unplug it. It tries to tell, remember what it was or tries to guess what it was. But if things don't load in properly, the audio can be kind of weird. So having everything on the mixing board means I can move it around. I'm not worried about unplugging it. I'm not worried about changing parts out. But it also lets me do some adjustments on it. So on the Rode, right, you can not only do, your use presets and stuff for mics, but also for speakers, for audio, right? So on my gaming PC, I actually have I have an audio tune in the Rode, right, that I can adjust kind of on the fly if I need to. And so this is like, a look at like the mic processing, but there's also processing for line in. So, and then the advanced processing, which is not, this is the basic, but the advanced processing gives me a lot of options to really fine tune the audio that I want to listen to, which is great. But, we go back to it being complicated. And this is where I think having an onboard system is really nice, because I can route my audio everywhere I want it to go. So right now we're going to look at the main audio routing, right? Basically what audio routing is when I have a signal, like in this case, this is, my microphone here. I can tell my microphone where I want it to go. I can say, I want this microphone to send to my audio, to my streaming PC, to my gaming PC, which I have it set to, and to my Xbox, right? So I don't need a stream mic. I don't need a game chat mic, okay? I have one mic, this one, right? So I sound good everywhere, right? And this is, this is the classic multi-PC streamer, right? Multi-stream PC streamer has like 3 mics sometimes, right? Because you want to chat, you want a mic to talk to chat, you want a mic to talk to your to people in game, lots of different options. In this case, I have the extra Xbox, so I want a mic to, I would have 3 different microphones. And in this case, I don't need to have any of that. I just have the one. I set the levels as I need it. I can set the levels to each device separately, okay, via the routing. So if I want to have my mic audio level higher to my stream than to in-game, right, I can do that. And so having this level of control over where my signals go, how they respond, how they sound when they arrive at their destinations, as well as the signals that I take in from all these sources, sorting them out, what goes to the stream, what goes to my headphones, what goes out to the gaming PC, right? Having all of that fine-tuned control that's not reliant on external software makes it very reliable. I have never had a scenario where I boot it up and it doesn't work, right? The worst case scenario is I forget to turn on the Rode, and then I have to go and turn on switch the default on the PCs, right? And it's done and everything works. Unlike what I ran into with the MixCreate, was sometimes the software wouldn't load and wouldn't override the choices that the PC would make, and I would have to go through and individually fight each channel to get it lined up where it's supposed to go on 2 different PCs. It was a huge problem. So when you're looking at a multi-PC setup, right? Again, especially with audio, it's all about reducing the number of connections, reducing the infrastructure kind of behind the scenes, which can be very complicated and have a lot of different ways of doing things. And so having a good mixing board that doesn't require offloading software to other, onto your PC, onto both PCs sometimes, really does improve the ability of the or of the mixer to do its job, which is deliver the good quality audio everywhere you want to go. So the Rode itself, once again, it's got some things that I think are great. It's got virtual channels, so I can have for example, the soundboard, or I can have some other stuff going on that isn't necessarily tied in directly to the to the mixer. So I have I'm limited to 6 sliders, but I can have more options on the side. You can take different audio sources, right? So it can handle standard analog sources in and out. It has a Bluetooth connection, so I actually have a Bluetooth speaker when I'm just want to have music playing while I edit or something. I don't want to wear my earphones. This is available to me, and it's all through here. I don't have to worry about messing things up with my computers with either computer, right? It doesn't matter what I do with the audio on my board. It doesn't change settings on my computer. I never touch the settings on my computers anymore. They just are, right? They're just out there, and I do all of my work on the board. And it makes it so clean and so convenient that it is absolutely worth it. Like if you're looking at, so I'm going to compare this to the Go XLR. Biggest drawbacks of the Go XLR is 2 drawbacks. One, it only has 1 USB right now. They might add another one down the road. We'll see. But it only has 1 USB input. So you can do a 2 PC setup, but you're bringing analog cables from your other PC in, and it's going to degrade the audio. You're not going to get as good a connection as you get with a dual USB. The other thing that it does is it is an external software base. So your PC has to host the software, and all of the system, all the mixing and all the memory is actually on your PC. So if you were to take your mixing board and you wanted to say go on the road, right? And you were traveling, if you unplug your mixer, it's all lost, right? Until you plug it back into that PC. So for some scenarios, it's actually, it can be problematic. For me, I'm not going anywhere. I've got 2 desktops, right? I'm not going to unpack all this stuff. But for a lot of people that, maybe you're in college, maybe you're on a laptop and you don't always set up in this, you have to do a scenario where you have to set up and tear down a lot of, I started that way before I built this office out here. So, every day I had to set up, every stream I had to set up for it, and then I had to tear it all down afterwards. So, so something like the Beacon, or not the Beacon, the Go XLR would be more problematic. It'd be more difficult to handle that, especially if I'm using different computers, right? So it has some drawbacks that the Rode overcomes. On the flip side, the Rode's more expensive, okay? Biggest drawback of the Rode, aside from its size, and it is a very large board compared to, a Go XLR, which is much smaller, is the cost, right? I mean, brand new, I didn't buy it brand new, but brand new, it's like a $600 board. That's not a small chunk of change. So they have the smaller 4-slider version, which I think is called the Duo, the RODECaster Duo, but which also handles the dual XLR or dual USB, which is very similar in size and scale to the Go XLR. I think they're pretty much the same price, plus or minus like 50, 60 bucks. Last time I checked. So, definitely within reach, and even though the popularity of the Go XLR is, very high, I think the usability is more on these pro level, or I'll call it pro level. It's not really pro, but kind of these more advanced hardware based mixers, I think, are really what you should focus on. So if you're a streamer, especially if you've got a dual PC setup, you should look into getting something like this. And there's a couple of different brands out there you can find. This isn't like this is the only one that does any good. However, I absolutely recommend a full-blown mixer that is completely hardware based, right? Get away from the software ones, get away from the other options. I don't think that they provide the same level of quality that you get on this. And really, I think that the RODECaster Pro II, in this case, it provides so much benefit for a two PC streamer, that the fact that it's just not more popular is wild to me. So it's got my full endorsement. I'm loving this thing. I can't get enough of it. There's so much more to it that I haven't dove into because it is just at that level. I just haven't had the time to dig into maximizing everything I can do with this. I highly recommend it. If you're looking for a mixer, if you're a dual PC streamer, definitely check it out. Highly suggested. With that, I'm going to let you go check it out. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Happy to answer what I can. And I'll catch you on the next one.